Test, test. Is anybody there?
Hey, John, this is Sunny.
Hey, Sonny, just doing a volume check here.
Sounds good.
How's our volume coming
Sounds
across? Do we sound okay to you?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, you can turn that down a little bit.
So if you want to, what we do, I'm looking for the dang mute button. Mute. So all I gotta do is hit mute, and that will take it down to a low volume, just for the speaker, not for your microphone.
No, let's set this volume. Hey, Sonny, can you give us a volume test? Count to 10, please.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Up.
Up a little bit.
Okay. Thank you, Sonny.
You're welcome.
There you go.
Hello, Sonny.
Anything else
Hey.
out here?
Very good.
Okay. Technologically declined individuals around here that can't figure it out.
Yeah.
That's why I confused my
Call.
life with what I'm.
Let me tell y'all what I did this past week. I was searching for things to watch, sometimes late hours and stuff like that, I rewatched that Sully, Sullenberger.
That's a good movie.
Hey, John, this is Sunny. Just a heads up, your video's not turned on.
Best way to do it is get one of those that hold your eyeglasses.
Yeah,
Thank you, Sonny.
For mine, but remembering to grab it off.
And Don's here with me, John.
Sonny.
And Don, Don's video.
Good morning. Yes, it does.
Mind your seat.
Or my seat. That's your seat. I love you, but you know.
Not that much.
This is what John can whisper in my ear when he needs me.
I need you.
Hello, Mr. Mayor.
We're going
How
tomorrow.
are you?
Huh?
I know where we're going tomorrow.
Therefore, it goes into
Lunch.
the master.
All right.
How y'all doing? You
still acting
like you're retired?
Sir?
You still acting like you're retired?
Well, I'm, when I figure out what that means, I'm gonna
Vaccinated people.
I'm gonna write a book.
It means that you stop doing the stuff you get trained for. You do other stuff.
All right, you ready to talk projects when it comes up?
Or you like Wayne, just trained for the job.
Pre-bid meetings, mission dates and stuff like that.
Matt's here.
Oh, okay, good,
Matt's here.
good
He
deal.
knows all those details.
Where are you, sir?
Hey, good. Thank- Check on the lease for skydive. You asked about the lease for skydive. It was really over in 26, but it went into holding over. So
I'm following you.
we're holding over status from literally from month to month now. Now the rent's gone up since 2006, but it's held over from month to month to month.
How much is the rent?
380 something. The original one way back then was I think 240 something, and now it's up to 340.
That's a land lease?
Yeah, and it's just for that little piece where they land in front of the building.
No good.
We got the cheapest land in town.
Well, this one's got a rocky back, but I guess I can just put
You
something
can
about
watch it
chairs.
if you want.
If I fall, I fall.
Where's our leader?
I know. He's like,
He's the greeter.
Probably didn't get a phone call.
I mean, he is like the rising sun sitting in that chair at 11:45.
And he always has these statements. And
Maybe he's doing his research on his quote for the day.
maybe. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, strange man, who are you?
I don't know yet.
No
Still working on it.
You can close that door.
We were gonna put
No,
you
don't
in
close it all
there
the
in
way.
case you got.
That might be a good
That's why
place
the
for
door
me.
was- This gentleman I'm harassing is Rick Paul. He's the SBDC representative for Putnam County.
Hello,
I'm
Hello.
sure somebody will introduce him at some point.
nice to meet you.
Hey,
Well,
we're
we're almost
Wayne
meeting.
McLean.
Wayne, pleasure. Thank you very much.
I like this thing's about too.
Some midline.
I'm sure you've heard a lot of great things about me also.
Well, he has, and sure, the chairman of our board, I mean, you know, every time he comes, we talk about how great you are.
Yeah, yeah, you believe that.
Rick will.
Absolutely.
I'm one of these weirdos that I read the attachments and have questions on those.
I forgot to bring that and ran out the door.
You bet. Okay. How about it?
We don't get those cute little folders anymore. They quit spoiling
Got
us.
Armando in trouble.
Calls. Why?
Oh, if you know, the 59,000, he's joking. He's got a good working relationship with him at the FAA. You know, we got 59,000 in COVID airport recovery aid coming. And if you wanted it this year, this fiscal year, you needed to send the application in back by certain. We missed that date. It's no big deal because we'll get it. We may not get it in October, but we could get it in November or December or something like that.
It's not going anywhere.
But it's not going to.
And there'll be prediction, there'll be more of it because people aren't spending it because they don't know how to spend it.
Where's our chairman, Mr. Yule?
People tend
Yeah, I've called him twice and he hadn't
Well,
answered.
it's like after 12. Do we have a vice chair?
That's unusual.
What are you doing that for? What's wrong with you?
Do we have a vice
Call
chair?
Judd Mobile.
Well, I know
Calling
Chairman
your
Yuko
phone,
likes
Judd.
to stay true
Mobile.
to
Yeah, I hope he's
our
okay.
timetables.
No,
That's unusual. He's
And having not called, for
early.
him to be here and not call. that
It's
is-
an insurrection.
And we don't,
Don told me that Judd wasn't going to be able to attend.
Right. Who are you trying to reach, John?
Judd,
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got.
Can you hear us?
Who are you trying to reach? By phone.
Yes.
Who are you trying to reach?
Judd Newfeld.
I don't think Judd's going to be able to attend
Okay, okay.
unless you talk to him today or
No, I called him twice and he didn't answer, so,
Judge. Yeah, he's not feeling well.
I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, we got a vice chair here, capable
We have a
vice chair
quorum
here then.
before we
We
worry
got a
about vice
quorum?
chair. We only
We
have
do 1, 2, 3, 4.
four to quorum.
It is. Okay.
We got 7 members.
Oh. I'm sorry.
Okay, and we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. And roll call. Sunny, do you know who's here? Do you want us to go around? What's your pleasure?
Hey, this is Sunny. I apologize, but I haven't heard the roll call. Would you like me to call roll?
Please,
Thank you, sir. Who's acting as the vice chair?
Wayne McLean.
Thank you, Mr. McLean. Appreciate you. Judd Newfeld is not present for the record. John Browning,
Yes.
thank you.
Wait. John Browning's there?
Oh, no.
No, I didn't think so. John's not able to attend either.
Okay.
Thank you. Noted for the record. Mr. McLean is present for the record. Hugh Rawls,
Present for the record.
thank you. Ms. Miller,
Not present.
No.
thank you. Ken Johnson,
Here.
thank you. Dana Jones,
I'm present.
thank you. I appreciate it. There are 4 people present out of a board of 7. We have quorum.
Sunny, do you need to know who else is here?
Yes, please. John doesn't have the monitor pointed towards you guys.
Right. I don't know if you know the mayor's here. Want to go ahead and announce yourself just so for the record?
Yes, Matt Singletary, Passo Associates.
And Andrew Halesko from Pastor Associates.
Okay, Dana, who have we got over here?
Rick Paul from the Small Business Development Center.
And Richard Nelson, pilot.
Okay, all right, I'm looking for.
John Browning is walking in.
Walking
John Browning
in.
is walking in.
Late per usual.
So fashionably late.
Welcome, sir.
John Browning is here. All right. Okay, I'm looking for approval of the June 2nd, 2021 minutes.
So moved.
Got Dana, a motion,
Second.
second from Ken. Any other discussion, changes, deletions, or additions to the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor of the adoption signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Close like sign.
Vice Chair, I apologize. This is Sunny. I didn't hear who made the second. I heard a second, but I don't know who made it.
Johnson,
Second by Ken Johnson.
Thank you.
and it passed, by the way. All right, no chairman comments today. Public comments,
I have one,
please.
just for general knowledge. Those of you who are pilots are aware of this. Most of you others are not. Oshkosh is going on like crazy up in Wisconsin. They have had approximately twice as many aircraft as they ever had before, from what I understand. A huge turnout. And the one big piece of news that will eventually affect us, the FAA has approved the GAMI company, General Aviation Manufacturing Inc., of their application for unleaded high-test. This was in collaboration, by the way, with the people, our neighbors over at Daytona Beach, Embry-Riddle Flying School, who operate a fleet of 172s. And so the initial approval is for their aircraft, which are all 172s, but people from GAMI, with big grins on their faces, have said that this will be, they're working very hard at getting widespread approval. They've made an agreement with AvFuel, who I believe is our distributor now.
Titan.
Titan is, okay, well, they made an agreement with AvFuel, who is the largest distributor of avgas in the country. And so within the next 12 to 18 months, we will be seeing unleaded avgas available. The best estimates, and they're just guesses, what we call a WAG in the business, is that it'd be about 5 cents a gallon more at the pump than the present av gas. But this is a big deal for general aviation in general. There is on the West Coast, you can get unleaded 94 octane, which is available now in a lot of the California FBOs. The 94 octane, by the way, will satisfy 3/4 of the fleet. There's only about 20-25% of the aircraft that require 100 octane av gas. So that's one of the more interesting things to come out of our stuff.
Interesting.
Which for us means we're gonna need to be thinking about putting in a third tank down there to accommodate.
Not really, because when it becomes available, you can dump it into whatever you've got. They're completely compatible. You can mix them and will not need another tank.
Can we just
You
sell?
just start putting the unleaded.
We can sell nothing but unleaded. We don't have to sell the leaded.
That's what they said.
No, they mix. They
Oh,
don't care.
good.
That's the good news about it.
But I mean, you can burn, everybody can burn no lead.
That's right,
Good,
which is a
Good.
great thing for the environment as well.
good.
Correct.
As most of you who operate airplanes know, it's against Florida law, for example, to dump your fuel drainage that you drain from your tank onto the ground, because it eventually creates lead contamination. That's slowly going away. And it's good news for all of us.
All right. Thank you for that bit of information.
And speaking of Oshkosh, Sonny, can you show that little video of that young man that's planning to fly to Oshkosh from here? Is that available?
Yes, sir. I have it in your business report, but I can play it now if that's the desire of the chair.
It's a little later on, John.
Okay, let's wait.
All right. Any other public comments? All right, hearing none, we're going to move ahead under the regular business, public business. So item A, discussion, private hangar land lease proposals. Who's taking that one, John?
I guess me and the city, we've got a gentleman who's interested in building a hangar. We've identified some property over here by the fire department. It's Mr. Valancourt from Valancourt
From up in
Construction.
Glencoe Springs Way?
And he's interested in building I believe it's 60 by 60 hangar. Andrew knows Mr. Valancourt and has talked to him about it. Andrew and I have talked, and our recommendation, I guess, well, it needs to be discussed. It needs to be
Is that the only
discussed.
one that's proposing to
That's
build
the
a
only
hangar?
one that's proposing it at this time.
Okay.
Can I speak when the appropriate time comes?
All right.
Just want to mention a couple things. It's my understanding that there may be a second person who wants to build a hangar. And that hangar may be for the purpose of housing a jet. Matter of fact, I guess there's no need in keeping that secret. Judd advised that he spoke with Johnny Morris directly and asked Morris if he would be interested in having a hangar at the airport, and Morris indicated that he definitely would. I think there was some conversation about, did he want to build it or we build it? And he said either way, essentially. Someone suggested that maybe money wasn't too big of a problem for Mr. Morris. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but in any event, the understanding was that he would want to be wanting to build a pretty good size hangar and house his jet or more than one in the hangar, and the area had been sort of located. I think I spoke with Andrew, and it looked like that was something that could be beneficial for all purposes. But that's a jet, and maybe more than one aircraft, and the obvious benefit to the community is I guess apparent to all. Mr. Valancourt, my question was, when John brought that to me, was, well, what is he looking at putting in the hangar? I mean, we talk about a corporate fly proposition, which burning a lot of fuel, et cetera, or what? And the answer was that he plans on putting one 2008 Cirrus aircraft in it for personal use. And so I just going to ask the airport board to consider, I know Andrew Halesko told me a golden rule is don't ever let somebody build a hangar that competes with your hangars. I think he was speaking specifically about T hangars. And if I misquoted you, Andrew, then please correct me.
No, Don, that's right on. Yep.
And I just going to ask the advisory board to consider whether or not allowing a private individual to build their own hangar on our ground space to house a small, light, private use aircraft is it the same character as allowing Johnny Morris to build a hangar out there and put one or more jets in the hangar? Do you see a difference there? And I'll leave the discussion at that right now.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. So with that, let's go ahead and open it up for discussion on that topic from the Airport Advisory Group.
Is it okay, Wayne, if I just give a little bit more background?
That would
before
be
we
very
start?
helpful.
So what we did when Mr. Valancourt had this first discussion was, he wanted to know locations where to put a hangar on the airport. So we did a quick and showed it to John, showing the different areas. Basically what we told him is, you can't have the site next to the terminal building because we're going to reserve the site for an FBO, a jet center, something like that. You can't have the site next to the old terminal building near the fuel farm because that's something aviation related to. You can't go on the end of the T hangars to the east because you tend to infringe on the skydive Palatka drop zone area. So we ended up showing him either in the industrial park, all the way on the south section of the airport, coming off of Moody Road through the firehouse gate, coming off of Taxiway C all the way on the south end near the Skeet Club, or going off of Taxiway Bravo on the other side of the taxiway in the terminal area. If you basically take our apron and double the apron in size, you still have an area. And he immediately went to the Moody Road site and said that would be fine with us. And that's, well, that's where it came about. I actually have some graphics. If anybody wants to know, look at the site plan, you can look at the site plan. It doesn't have anyone's name on it. It's just simply looking at those 4 sites as possible options. Keeping in mind, it's not a major aviation business generator that would go here in the terminal area. The area outside this terminal and the old terminal, those are for aviation related businesses that need public access, that are going to put people to work and need landside access for customers and airside access for aircraft. So,
okay, thank you. That was helpful.
Okay.
So what I understand our mission here is to discuss this and to see if we have a recommendation to the city at this point. If we don't, so be it. But how about discussion from the Airport Advisory Group?
Let me add a little something here. When I spoke and said we have no other offers for public hangars, this gentleman has said he is ready to put a shovel in the ground. Okay, but Mr. Morse, we're still in the, I guess, discussion. This person's ready to go, shovel. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, John.
That's what I meant by that.
Comments? Yes, sir.
When I was at Amelia Island, and I was on the advisory board there as well, by the way. In fact, I was the FBO there for several years, 50 years ago, back in the late 80s, early 90s.
Okay.
The advisory board there recommended, the city council approved land leases to people that wanted to build hangars of their own, because we couldn't build them fast enough there to meet the demand. We have the same problem here. How many are on the waiting list now? 40 people?
No, the T
Well,
hangar.
I'm sure Passero can tell us that this is the case at every airport within 100 miles of here. You've got a long waiting list for hangars. Most of the hangars are only built when federal funds become available, because it's very expensive and it's not cost effective for us to go out and borrow hangars. It's just not, we determined this in past meetings, I believe. The usual arrangement is that the land lease is for X number of years. Usually, I think about 25 years, or 30 years, or 40 years, in that range, at which time the property that's on there reverts to the control of the city. We had absolutely no problems with people who built their own hangars up in Amelia Island. It was a boost to the economy there in that they based more airplanes and bought more fuel and bought more maintenance on the field as well. So with the backup on the number of hangars that we can build here, and the fact that it'd be 20 years before we could meet the current demand. I recommend that we seriously consider allowing this to go. It's not in competition with us, in my opinion, of course. And it does help bring in more airplanes. And it fills a really desperate need. John?
I agree with what you said. However, it is a competition. Look, if it's what the city wants to do, and that is put private individual hangars, you need to give that a lot of thought, because where you put one, you're gonna decide where you're gonna put two, because if you do this, you've made a decision, which is fine with me. But now you're gonna have a lot more. You got those 40 people, a number of them may very well want an individual hangar, and they want their own hangar. They're not controlled as much. I think a big hangar for a jet is a different idea. A jet hangar would change the concept of this airport. That's what I think we really need. I think we've got, I know people here looking, I couldn't believe it. I was in Orlando, and the people that are looking at Palatka and bringing out maps, and they're all got a lot of money, and they're big developers. They're really looking hard. It's going to be important to them that they have an airport that will look to the future. The future is we need some jets. It seems like when you get the jets, all the others follow. Maybe I'm wrong. If you go put a single hangar, to me, that's just not the same thing.
Okay. All right.
Can I speak also, Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, City Manager Holmes.
So my sentiments follow John's in that I think the benefit to the airport and the community has to be weighed against the fact that we're taking space that won't be available to us for the next 30 years. My understanding from Mr. Halesko was that the going rate, and correct me if I'm wrong, was 31 cents per square foot annually. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. So if you're talking about a 60 by 60, that's 3,600 square feet times 31 cents a square foot. That's $1,116 a year. Divided by 12 is $93 a month. Folks, that's not a lot of money for the city to get to tie up 3,600 square feet of space over there. And you're not getting any, you're not being promised any significant fuel sales. Flying a Cirrus, I mean, we're not talking about high fuel consumption for private use compared to that area being available for a jet. So my thought simply is you don't have an unlimited amount of area to lease. I don't believe, I don't know what the acreage is, but I don't think you've got an unlimited amount of area to leave out, to put out for land leases. Do you really want to, do you want to allow people with one private airplane, a Cessna 172, a 182 or whatever, to go out and build a hangar that you say it's ours in 30 years, and that's fine. We don't know what condition it'll be in at that time. I guess you could build in some terms in the contract regarding maintenance and so forth. But my thought simply is that a good use of our space? Is it a good return for us? And that's my thought. And I promise I won't say any more about it. I'll let you guys discuss then from that point forward.
I don't know about your math, but that was helpful. So
Math's off a little bit.
your math's off a little bit there, Don. Please.
I had a hangar here with Tommy Stillwell, right by what was the main terminal, and they were glad for us to have it. We built a hangar there, and we had it. But one day, they decided it's this airport, right? And we were in the wrong place. It was the right place for years. And we did move there. We tore it down and did it. But we had a lease for a long time, but we wanted for the better good, not that much of a good spread, but we were there. We were going to build it down here. And the thing is, they gave us an opportunity to build a hangar where you've got these last hangars now. They marked it off in the ground and said, you can have this. We did not build a hangar, but had we done that, everything that you laid out here you'd have had to buy it, because people would have messed it up. I think if we're gonna do those hangars, and it's probably not a bad idea, we really need to give some thought, if, to doing 30 or 40 or 50, whatever you want to do, lay out the whole scheme of them. And let him be the first would be fine, but just don't put one, because it would be like it's been 20 years ago, it would be right in the way. Wherever we pick on here, if you start getting some jets in here, they could be in the way. Look at St. Augustine. They put in a few jets, and man, let me tell you, everything came. So I'm not opposed to them, but we're not ready to just go on a map and point. Are we? Do we have a master plan that would show where the next 30? Well, we are, and we have for a long time, had some areas to put a great big hangar. But I don't care. I'm glad to see.
All right,
Valancourt's a great guy, by the way.
Mr. Mayor?
Well, I think there's another consideration that you gotta look at, and no one's really talking about it as we start talking numbers. Let's assume that you allow 40 land leases and 40 hangars within the next few years. It's also gonna require additional labor and additional staff. And so when you run those, you may say the math is off, but 1/3 of a dollar is 33 cents. And if you take 36 and divide it by 3, you get 12. It's not a whole bunch of money. Even when you talk about the proposed hangar size for Bass Pro, you're still in the same situation. There are other values that come to having that presence. But the reality is, let's just assume you get $28,000 in additional income from the land leases, having those folks there, not counting what they're going to pay for fuel and other things. You bring in one staff person, you've already eaten that money up. And that's before we get into benefits or any other stuff. And so you have to look at the total picture of what's in place as you start to do this stuff. And that's not to say that it wouldn't be good or bad, but it's to say that you've got to look at what other impacts come as a result of doing it. And then also, how does it sound as you start to look at what your future plans are? Because the airport today may have a different demand in a few years. And we just don't, I think we need to have really a comprehensive plan with where we look at. I think that the question's been going on for the last few months. What do we want our identity to be in the future as we begin to build this airport up? And I think you have to deal with those things strategically before you start getting to some of this other stuff.
So, John?
I have a couple of thoughts here. One is our grant money we get from the state and the feds is designed to eventually get this airport to being self-sustainable. Could it be viewed as negative if we turn the opportunity for growing the airport to the FAA and the FDOT? And I don't know, that's more of a question for, airport development and the boilerplates for the grants that we accept. And
That's a high the answer to.
And second, if it's a 60 by 60 hangar, airplanes have a way of making their way into there. So for instance, I get calls all the time looking for hangars, and I pointed to Mr. Rawls. Mr. Rawls has space in his hangar that they could rent to. So I guess Mr. Valancourt could, in theory, rent to or how many airplanes he would allow in his hangar.
Did you have a comment?
I had a question, really. Can Passero people give us some comments on other airports near us that are allowing land leases?
Is that a request from staff?
No, it's
Yeah, if any other airports have private hangars.
Are there any other airports in this area that are allowing land leases?
Yes.
And how are they faring with it so far?
Well, I mean, St. Augustine and Amelia Island both have multiple private land leases similar to what you're talking about.
They're a much larger footprint than
I'm
we
just
are in space.
answering the question.
Yeah.
I'm answering the question.
Yeah.
You just
The
answered the
answer
question.
is yes. I just want to know one more thing, because whether it's a jet operator or a private T hangar or a private corporate hangar, your master plan does provide, you all participated in that. You all, had, we made sure that whether it was a 60 by 60 or 100 by 100 or 100 by 200, anything of that size, all those sizes could be accommodated in what you're talking about. I just want to make sure everybody knows that the area on Moody Road that we're talking about, it's designated for a row of corporate hangars all the way from Moody Road to Taxiway Charlie, like 2,000 feet of corporate hangars. Doesn't say whether the city's going to own them or they're going to be privately owned, but you could put 100 more base.
So Mr. Chairman,
Please.
So
I lied. I need to ask one more question. I need you to help me with my math. You said I'm off on my math. So 60 by 60, is it something different than 3,600?
Yes,
What is it? If it's different than 3,600, what is it?
3,600. 3,600, you're right on that.
3,600, right?
Right, that's correct.
And if you're annually 31 cents per square foot, I mean, if it was $1 a square foot, that'd be 3,600 a year, which is 300 a month. If it's a third of that, or 31 cents a foot, you're talking about $1,016 annually. Is that right?
Correct.
And if that's so, then divide that by 12, you're talking about under $100 a month. And my point simply is, is that now, John or whoever brought up a good point. If you're talking about laying out a whole scheme of hangars over there to make them available for private build, but if you did, I mean, so if you built 40 at that of the same size at 100 a month, you're getting $4,000 a month then for tying up the space of 40 hangars with no promise of spinoff fuel sales or anything of that nature. So I guess from an economic perspective, and I don't know Mr. Valancourt, I'm sure he's a great guy and so forth. If there's some promise of something additional coming in, then the fact that he puts more airplanes in his hangar doesn't, I mean, other than if they fly a lot to generate fuel sales, he's splitting his $100 a month up with other people, but the city is not getting any more out of it. And you got maintenance of, I assume you're going to maintain something to get him to the hangar by way of a taxiway, or somebody is. And if you build a complex, there's going to be common maintenance for the taxiways or run the areas to get to him. So I guess the question simply is, nobody else questions the economic, the economic feasibility of that.
Yes,
I
we
do.
have.
I
Yes,
do.
yes, several have here, Don.
But Don, I think what Wayne was referring to was that the lease area, regardless of who does it, whether it's a corporate jet complex or a single 60 by 60, the lease area wouldn't be the footprint of the building. It would be the footprint of the building and the parking apron, the automobile area, and the related. So it ends up
Right.
being about 4 times the size of the hangar. I think that's what Wayne was referring to.
Correct.
Still not wrong.
So, okay, we've used half the meeting to discuss this topic, which is important. So one comment,
Just
please.
one comment, and it's kind of the opposite of what John was commenting on about the CARES Act funding. Could we not use the funding to build and lease to Mr. Valancourt? So maintain it, and we would always get the lease for the actual hangar? Doesn't that?
Good idea.
Well, I think the city is planning on using that money for the debt service again, like we did last year.
Okay.
But that's,
All right, well, that's a separate
That just
discussion.
demonstrates
That's a
growth,
separate
that's all.
discussion matter. All right. Yes,
Well, I still think the overriding consideration is the huge need for more hangars
correct.
all over this part of the country. There is a waiting list at every single airport within 500 miles of here. And
Correct.
probably at least as long as ours.
Correct.
So the need is there. And so
All right.
if you build, if
So-
you allow this increases the number of airplanes.
40 people. Look.
So, all right, so do we want to continue to discuss, or do we want to have a motion on the floor for something, or what is going to be our recommendation from this advisory group?
My personal feeling is we're not ready to put forth a motion to consider that. I don't think we've had enough time and information. I mean, my gut's saying we shouldn't do it.
The motion, if I made one, would be, let's study the situation more. I'm not ready to, with what I've heard here, we still have 40, if we built 10 of them, we still have 40 waiting to rent. So it's a bigger picture to do with the master plan. And I think we should have some meetings to really lay out what we've said we want, because I don't remember. Okay.
And it needs to make economic sense at the end of the
Well,
day,
that makes
and we
sense.
need
It
more.
doesn't- I don't see,
So would it be fair to say the recommendation of this group is we need to study this issue more in relation to the master plan, the airport, before we can make a recommendation?
absolutely.
Yes, I'll make that motion.
All right. Do I have a
I'll second.
second on that?
What exactly are you studying?
Relation,
Nothing till we study it.
But I'm saying, what exactly are you studying? Because I think just saying studying, you need to give direction as to what exactly you want. The information to come back, what information you want to come back to you.
It's got to be economically feasible, and it's got to fit the master plan. And we don't have either of those in front of us.
Well, he has a master plan, and Andrew's already indicated that it fits the master plan, that it's already
That's his
in there.
opinion.
But
He's
As
already designed it.
as mayor, what would you like for us to do?
Well, I think the reality of it is this. So you got Passero here saying it fits the master plan. The thought process was included in the master plan. I think if anything, you're gonna look at feasibility. And you're gonna look at feasibility, you're gonna look at growing trends of airports and bring that information back more so than whether it fits the master plan, I think. Not wrong, but does it fit the master plan?
So the master plan, he's already said it fits the master plan.
Right, so I'm saying, so why we even ask?
Determine what it was.
So the question, so it's redundant to say, we're gonna ask, does it fit the master plan, when he's already said that the master plan includes 2,000
We changed it to
feet
feasibility.
outside.
Wait, hold on, Mr. Mayor. Where on the master plan does it show to put these? Okay,
He
you
just-
don't, I bet you don't.
He just said
We
Moody.
just said.
Okay, but my point is, Moody is one of them. I would like to see it and familiarize and say, okay, here's why it fits. You're asking us for free. Now, you're the mayor, we're not. And for me, just as an advisory, I don't see it every day. I'd like to look at it, see what we're talking about, have it laid out here, and he can show us and see if it fits. But I just, for me, as an advisor, I can't recommend it. I don't know how much really it's gonna mean. I don't see how it's gonna pay any money to the city. I don't think it's gonna lower the 40 people because they're wanting to rent.
We will gain an asset though in 30 years.
Well, we gain an asset, really? Now, the big hangar, yes, but just a single hangar, and he's going to sublease them? Really? I don't think so. I don't think.
Well, that's the part so we would need to change the language to the
Yeah,
feasibility.
well,
But
that is, I mean, the feasibility is the main part of it. That's where you go so far. You know, I'll go on with that.
But again, my point was the motion on the floor, and it was discussion based on the motion on the floor was to determine whether it fit the master plan when Passero indicated that it was already.
So you're beating the dead horse now. We already agreed with you on that.
Oh, well, let me beat it for a second. But again, my point was simply that that's what it was. And I think that at the end of the day, the clarity that you want has to be specified so that there's no miscommunication. Back, that's my point with everything, whether it's my commission or this board. At the end of the day, if you don't ask for what you want, you usually don't get what you want.
so what I,
Sometimes when you ask, you don't get it.
Well, but that's just, you know.
But I
that's what it is.
appreciate the comment that he made. He said, we have the master plan. We know where they're going. We just never have discussed how they're going to be built. And so,
so you want to amend your motion, have the feasibility with
Feasibility.
the understanding that staff, along with our consultant, would come back and have that as one of our discussions here as a issue to better educate the advisory board?
yes, sir, I'm so moved. And the thing that I'm surprised about, it might be my ignorance, and that is the low income that we would get off of a hangar that somebody else built and controls.
And I'd like to see a pros and cons list to better
I'm very surprised about that.
that
Okay.
asset we might
The money
inherit
is
to
not-
what we're giving
money
up.
It's just not there.
Okay, so you're going to go with his amended motion?
I'll second the amended motion.
Okay,
Does it meet your requirements?
And I've already made my statement.
okay.
I mean.
And I appreciate the comment. I appreciate we clarified that.
All right, any further discussion on this? All those in favor of the motion as amended, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay, moving along. All right, the request for proposed discussion of city and airport market opportunity analysis. Who's going to discuss that?
Mr. Chairman, I will. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. I'm kind of thinking that maybe we should have taken this item up before your last item. What you were just talking about can be achieved in this exercise that I'm about to lay out for you. The city recently received 2 grants, one from DEO for a strategic planning exercise, of which the North Florida Regional Planning Council is going to assist with. And we received another one from USDA for a market opportunity analysis and business incubator study. Within that second grant, it was conceived that the consultants, whomever is selected, would look at specific geographic areas, the airport being one, and kind of dig down into what we have for assets, what our market can yield, and what our opportunities are. And it was kind of thought that we may revisit the master plan so that everybody would be on the same page and kind of do that feasibility study that you're talking about. So this is before you for input. So I would hope that everybody would kind of take a close look at it, provide some feedback and comments. As the mayor just said, it's critical that we are very specific about what we want for deliverables out of this process. And staff's intent is to get something that we can use. We're not just looking for another plan to sit on the shelf and get dusty. So with that said, are there any questions of me or Mr. Holmes?
Yes, I actually read this and I had a couple of questions. I know I'm the chair, so I better back up and see if anybody else had any comments or questions before I speak. Okay, so I read this and I have a couple of questions. Could we expand the scope of this review, and this may not be practical, to include the analysis of privately ran airport as opposed to publicly ran?
I believe so.
Okay, having said that, let me open it up to this group. I think that would be very valuable for us to take a look at. I'm not going one way or another, but I think it would be valuable. I sit on the airport advisory group for Fort Lauderdale Executive Airport when it went from to a private entity. I just think that would be great information to have. What is the thought process of the committee or advisory board?
I agree.
I was the FBO at Fernandina Beach, who took over from the city of Fernandina Beach. So obviously I have a prejudice in that line. I'll freely admit. It is still private, I believe, is it not?
It is. The fixed base operation.
It's still a private operation. And there are a lot more operations that I know of that have gone from publicly managed to private FBOs than the reverse. So it's certainly worth our looking at.
Okay, so I wasn't out in left field in that
No,
thought
not at all.
process.
It seems to be a,
I'm so glad you read that,
Yeah.
because we're just getting information.
That's it.
It doesn't, some of the private ones and municipalities way more money
Exactly.
than they ever got. They end up as, you take Sanford, Orlando with that, and it was started being run private, now it's kind of a combination. I don't think they're all just cut and dried, one thing fits all, and I sure would like some ideas to see if there's a way to, as the mayor says, just maximize if we can get the money.
And you know, I look at what the city did with the golf course. I know it's a completely different entity,
Absolutely.
but I thought that was a very good strategic move by the city, and it's paid off well. It may not work out here at the airport, but I would like to add that, Don or Jonathan, whoever could add that. And I thought the other parts of the feasibility study that you outlined in the proposal were very good, and I thought we're right on target.
I think that we can, we've had some discussions about the privatization, just in concept, but I don't think there would be any problem at all with us adding that element into the study.
Okay. All right. Any other comments from anybody on this?
Right, we should have gotten it first. We wouldn't have had all the discussion.
That's okay.
We wouldn't have had all the other discussion.
So you're not really looking, Jonathan, just to be clear, you're not looking for anything. You were just looking for input, not necessarily a motion of any type from the advisory board, correct?
Correct. And if you all want to take it back with you and kind of read it, digest it, and if you want to reach out to Don or I with any questions or, comments or suggestions, feel free. We got some other stakeholder groups that we need to reach out to, one of which I think is actually in the room right now, the SBDC. So we got a little bit of time on this.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you. Any other discussions on that before we move on? All right, hearing none, let's go ahead to the discussion of the CARES Act funding applied to the debt service. Okay.
How much is it?
I did just get a phone call from the FAA. We were trying to get it for this fiscal year, but Jonathan, the FAA is not going to be able to get it to us this year. So it'll be next fiscal year.
Okay, John, just keep an eye on it. As soon as we can actually claim for reimbursement, we just need to go ahead and get it done.
Will do.
How
What
much?
would be the discussion point though for this group? What are we discussing? Is the city looking for a recommendation from us?
No, sir, I don't think we were. We're just applying it to the debt service. That's one of the eligible expenses and the easiest thing for us to claim.
Say again, I'm sorry, there was some over talk there. Say it one more time.
Sorry, no, I don't think we were actually looking for input on that item. We just wanted to bring it to your attention. Debt service is an eligible expense, and from a grant management perspective, it's the easiest thing to apply for reimbursement.
Jonathan, I have a question though on that. Can that CARES funding be used for anything else within the scope, such as, I don't know, I'm just throwing something out of a repair of the fuel truck, painting, I don't know, I'm just asking a question.
Yeah, there are some other eligible expenses. I don't really want to speak to the other specific activities that could be funded. If it's, the advisory board's intent to try and use the funds to cover some other needed expense, the money's going into the airport budget no matter what we go for reimbursement for. My suggestion and recommendation would be you always go after something that is a clear eligible activity. And there is no argument that debt service is not an eligible activity versus something that may be in a gray area. So there are other needs. I think the advisory board could speak to those needs and see if the savings brought about by applying those funds to the debt service could be reallocated to those needs.
Okay. Comments from the advisory board?
Just one observation.
Okay.
The new fiscal year starts in 6 weeks. I mean, it's not like it's next year. The fiscal year starts 1 October, so I'm not surprised the FAA can't do anything between now and October. That doesn't surprise me at all. The next fiscal year is imminent.
Any other comments? All right, no other comments, so we'll proceed ahead. Number 5, the airport update. John?
Yes, Sonny, can you put the slides up, please?
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And next slide, please. When you can. Or if-
Minimize the screen faces on there.
John, the next slide is going to be that video. So if you'll give me just a moment, I'll put up the video, okay?
Go back to your Zoom and then just click up.
Do what?
Go back into your Zoom. And then go full screen. Okay.
Can you go back
Thank
to the share screen?
Have somebody for our IT department.
That's good, Mayor.
That's in case this mayor thing don't work out, huh? Okay, there's the segment in the Jacksonville News by a young man
Right.
from Palatka. We may have to put up with a commercial I don't know if, I couldn't remove it. Were you able to remove it, Sonny?
Yes, sir. I just played the commercial while we
Okay.
were
Thank you.
changing screens. Can you see the video?
We can see it's
on
not.
pause.
Oh, there you go.
I'm gonna hit play. Thanks.
Well, a Putnam County teen is working hard to make his dreams take flight. Just 18 years old, Ethan Cole is building his own
Can you hear it?
airplane after getting his pilot's license at 17.
And Renata Di Gregorio met with him, and he has some very big plans for the aircraft. Huh, Renata?
Yeah, Lou, he's got really big plans, but we're not talking a big airplane here. Nothing like these huge ones we're looking at here at JIA with United and JetBlue. But he plans to build his own airplane, 500 hours of work, and then fly it to the biggest fly-in in the world in Oshkosh, Wisconsin next year. All in the airplane that he's built himself.
You can see everything from a different perspective. Kind of opens the whole world up.
The sky's the limit for 18-year-old Ethan Cole.
When I was 15, I took my first flight with a friend, Tom Kasich.
He got his pilot's license at age 17. His newest venture, building an aircraft from scratch.
The engine will be mounted right here on the motor mount, and the seat will be right here. I wasn't, just trying to break a record or anything, but just something I really wanted to do, and everything worked out. The angles and everything, making it all work. It looks easy until you start doing it. All the angles, measuring them, and everything's got to fit perfectly.
It's a lot of work. Cole started his own car detailing business to pay for it. But it's not just getting to fly that's keeping him going.
My friend Ray Willis, he kind of inspired me before he died. He kind of inspired me to build my own airplane.
A tribute to a friend, the goal to fly.
It's the world's biggest fly-in, Oshkosh, Wisconsin. By next year, hopefully we'll be able to fly it up there.
So what really struck me here, did you see that manual he was using, that book? It had instructions in it. That's really what he's going off of. He's just using the instructions, using his own tools. Technically, anyone can build their own plane. Don't know if I'm quite there yet. If you're with me, you can actually donate to help Cole build his plane. We got that link for you on firstcoastnews.com. I'm Renata Di Gregorio, live at JIA. First Coast News, on your side.
Anybody see that?
Yeah.
But
Pretty
when
cool.
it was on, I don't know how long ago that was done, but anyway, I wanted to show everybody that. Like his own fine young entrepreneur,
Yeah,
started a
God bless
business. Talked to him on the phone yesterday and said, let us know if we can do anything for you. And I asked him if he came out to our fly-in, if that was any kind of influence. He said yes. He came to the last one and said that kind of contributed. All right, Sonny, if we can get back to the slide presentation. And our operation looking similar. Next slide, please. We're hit on fuel cells, both of them 100 low lead and jet.
That's good.
We did have a slow July though. That number. Next slide, please. Back up one. Is what we made on total fuel sales compared to last year. Next slide. And our rent revenue is up. Of course, we raised the rent in January. Big reason for that. Next slide. It's all combined revenue. And right now we're 66.5 to the good, just operationally out here at the airport. If it was a private FBO, it'd be 66 in the good right now. Next slide, thank you. And when you add the 23 in grant funding, we make it 89. Had we gotten the 59, almost 60,000, would have run that 89 up to what, 119 or 199, yeah. And of course, we got this with the admin fee and the pending, loan payment. Next slide, please. And next slide. And next slide. And we're talking about we've got pre-bid meeting coming next week.
For the hangar project, yeah, the new hangar on the west side of the airport.
Gonna be here.
6 to 8 unit T hangar. The bid phase is underway, it's advertised, and we got the pre-bid, like John said, and bids are scheduled to open beginning of September. And then taxiway alpha, the city received an FAA grant. We need to get that approved by city commission. And then we can move forward with contracts for the contractor and getting construction process underway to get, may take a while to get them all lined up to start construction, but we can get all that in motion.
Yeah.
Then also the lighting for the existing hangars, that's tied in with the T hangar project that's being bid together. So that's on the same schedule as the T hangar. And then if you want to speak about.
And we are gonna try to get the LED lighting put in maybe before the hangars are ready.
Right, so there's two separate base bids for the T hangar and then the hangar lighting. So it could be two separate contractors potentially. The idea would be to, like John's saying, get the hangar lighting started right at the beginning of the construction schedule and not have to wait until the T hangar is built and have that all tied together. So.
Yeah, thank you. I was really hoping, we had to put this project off a year to get the money to buy the land next to the Moose Club. So I've been telling residents, we're going to get LED lighting. So we just want to try and get that in as quick as possible. Really wanted it in before we discussed raising rent to kind of get value added if we're going to raise rent. So hopefully they'll see that when it gets installed. If you feel like it, take a left instead of a right after this meeting out on Highway 100 and go check out the first row of T hangars. We finished painting the white trim, and I don't know if you've seen it. It looks good.
Looks better.
It looks a lot better. And we're in the process of soliciting quotes for the next building. The company that did that said they'll do it for the same price that they did this one. We've got to get 2 more quotes. And then wait just a little bit for the money to catch up. The $25 per month has paid for the first hangar, but we don't quite have enough to pay for the second hangar yet. We should have it by October. Next slide, please. And just some miscellaneous stuff. There's the grant that Matt mentioned that the mayor signed. Before I keep going, I want to tell you that rain, I don't know if anybody knows, the field's looking a little bit fuzzy. Rain has just hampered our mowing effort like crazy. Everywhere. So please forgive us if it gets a little bit woolly. Talking to our contractor all the time about, when can we get going? When can we get going? And the jet truck, we've got to get a mechanic to come out and do what's called a leak check. We got a little bit of disparity between mechanics. One thinks the possibility of internal damage to the engine. Another one thinks that it's possibly the fuel injectors. We'd much rather it be the fuel injector. The only way to find that out for sure is to come out and do what's called, I think, a seat test, where you pressurize the cylinder and see how much air it leaks around the rings and stuff. We hope that it holds pressure. If it holds pressure, significantly cheaper to replace the injectors than an engine. Or we offered the job to a lady that came and interviewed. She seemed all excited, and then lo and behold, her husband had some medical issues and she had to turn the job down. So we're back to advertising for admin position. And Mr. Douglas and Mr. Tomlinson of Tomlinson Aviation, they fly helicopters over Norman Beach. I had originally requested a time at this meeting to do a presentation on what they'd like to offer for getting involved and actually taking over the fly-in.
to see that.
Charlie, really excited about it. And he's big aviator, got a private license. He's working on his helicopter rating now. And
Smart man.
he stopped in and asked them if they could make a
Awesome
presentation
stuff,
to the board. So you can expect that next meeting.
So have we given a question for you on that, John? So has staff given Charlie and Mr. Thomason any parameters at all, or just gonna let them come and present, see what they got to present? from
Yeah,
them?
we met and talked one. I said, I'd be glad to help you
Okay.
as much as I can, but let's see what you can
Okay.
come up with.
Cool.
See if you-
Interesting. All right, any comments on the business update report for John? Okay, all right, is there anything, a couple of minutes left, anything else to come for the advisory board?
I'd like to say that presentation is better. I like the way you did it this time, John. It's better. Thank you.
Okay, all right, hearing none, consultants have anything? Thank you for attending
Yes,
today. Mr. Mayor?
So with the ARPA funds, and I know there was 100 million or so that was there for general aviation airports, and most of that 8 billion went to the larger commercial airports. Have y'all seen any other opportunities with American Rescue that may exist for our airport?
Only in terms of AIP fit facility funding, both for traditional projects and what they call supplemental funding. So related to the 100% funding that you got for taxpayer this year, that's a part of it also. Used to be 90%. So the federal legislation put in $600 million extra into the program so that the grants could go from 90% to 100. Hopefully that will continue so that maybe next year and even the year continue to be 100% funded. And there's just in general, there's funding available to build what you want to build, where in previous years, there just wasn't enough money to go around. So if there's something else that the city chooses to want to build on the airport, the FAA, AIP, and supplemental funding, all related to the same legislation, is there at 100%.
Right, and I think another thing that maybe this committee may want to give some thought to is the fact that in Tallahassee, there's going to be a lot more money floating around than usual. And so it's a good time to look at things that may be on the wish list that traditionally you wouldn't get appropriations for, and see if the opportunity exists. And because of all the federal money that came from CARES, there is an opportunity to get more funding.
Mr. Kaufman did call me or send me an email this morning, said he was unable to attend the meeting. He's normally here. That's our FDOT rep.
Okay.
We,
John?
that's where I just came from for the last 3 days, and Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and there is going to be more money coming in. We don't know, it hasn't, passed the Senate, and there's quite a bit for aviation. So there's going to be a grab, and I think the mayor is correct. We should get some of that. I don't know how much, but everybody's already, before it's here, they're.
So how do we make sure we get and that's a good point the mayor brought up, how do we make sure we get our chance at it?
A couple of things from the city standpoint, the mayor, they have a lobbyist and they have a person up there doing for the city. We'll look at it from DOT, but and you'll have a lot, everybody's going to get it. It'll be open to be seen what the money is, and then it'll be a process. They're going to do some, I don't know how much until we see what we get and who's going to do it and how many strings are on it. That always is the strings put on the deal. And but I think the mayor is correct. There is a lot of money coming down, and we're in there. We're digging. We just got to dig and try to get some money. I think the master plan, and I want to look at it again, another challenge. So we kind of got it in my head, feasibility.
So Andrew, don't let us miss I'm going to put it on you. Don't let us miss the boat. If you see something we should be looking at.
We read that legislation every day. And what's being proposed right now, unfortunately, we're talking federal dollars, which means you can't use it to build a hangar.
Right.
So we'll just talk about that right now. But dollars that make it from the federal government to the DOT, those funds, revenue generating projects. But the first early snapshot is that Palatka is going to get basically their fair share of the 25 billion that's going to airports is going to be somewhere on the first list between 550,000 and 790,000. We're looking at airport classifications, and what airports are typically going to do with those funds, because it's separate than the annual funds of the AIP right now. So there's still the normal funding program there. Those dollars, in general, we're recommending that airports put it towards a project that they want that isn't normally an FAA high priority. Because you're not going to get the FAA to fund this project.
Hangar painting.
Well, no, it can't be that. It can't be
Never
that way.
can be.
No,
Every time I bring up hangar painting, you say it can't be.
But there's a list of things on the
We get a
airport
new
here.
fuel truck out of it?
Can't get a fuel truck. That makes money and nothing. That's the type of project that, that type of thing and other things on the airfield that you typically have some resistance from the FAA. You could put these.
You can't substitute money. Can't use this money here and, no, okay, never mind.
But it's not approved yet, but we review it every day. We get an update every day.
I'm putting it on you and Browning to keep us abreast.
One thing, we are going to have, and I met with him, the Secretary of DOT, and we're gonna bring the Courts Council and a couple more are gonna come here, and we're gonna go to the airport, we're gonna go down the river, probably show them, we'll get together, Mr. Chairman, and look at it, and I would say when they come, please come out and talk to them, and try to show them what's, he was talking about Palatka, as about St. John's and Putnam County. Somehow they're looking at a map and they're seeing them together. We're gonna look at the bridge, and we're gonna look at Highway 20's getting close to being finished. So a bunch of stuff, and I'm just trying to get the date. We just finished up yesterday, so it'll probably be a month, but I would recommend we'll let everybody know. Okay. Everybody's welcome. And I think we'll start at the airport. That's what we did, a couple of years ago, and they hadn't forgotten. And AF was there and said, oh yeah, I remember I got remember when you got in the
race car,
like a freaking race car out here, but we'll do a lot of DOT's doing a lot of interesting things. To the point, one of the things I think is, and I'll take just a second, they're doing on the new cars, all have image, with the chips and all, or computer in it. They're setting up, we get a lot of wrecks, are people the wrong way down these roads because they're getting so complicated. Really got a problem with deaths, fatalities. And so we're now in the process of putting a system that will tell your car, there's a car coming at you on your lane. There's a car within 5,000 feet of you. There's a car within 1,000 feet of you. Get off the road. I mean, it's going to some really neat, and on where you go up a ramp backwards, they are going to have flashing. I mean, it's going to be some strobe lights. People are doing it, and I guess as they get more complicated. One last thing, I maybe sometime I'll come back and show you some more stuff, but they're putting on the roads, these reflectors and all are good when they first put them down, but they wear out pretty quick. They're using glass, recycling glass, and it's red and different colors. Y'all probably have seen it. And it's going to be put down on the roads, and you see that. And they're actually going to show the paths better. And to add to that, the only place in Florida that's building it is a company in St. Augustine, and it comes under, it'll all say 3M, but actually they bought everything that company can produce for the next 5 years. And it's right as you get on the interstate on 207, off to where Tree of Life was, back in there. And so if y'all want to go, we're going to tour that again. The secretary just did. Might be of interest to see. It's kind of neat, the new stuff that's coming. And the secretary will probably go there when we hear a lot of really cool things that they're doing with these new cars. 3% of the cars are there. And they're going to have charging stations every 25 miles. We're getting a big grant. Part of this money that's coming in is going to be for the charging stations. They're putting them in now from Volkswagen, and that's administered by DEP. The new grant with this funding that's coming will be administered by DOT. And so we want to make sure that we get some good charging stuff. All of that's what's going to get us.
Yep.
We can get some of that. Anyway, that's.
All right, thank you, John. All right, I better adjourn or Judd Newfield will be unhappy with me. Thank you so much.
Good work.
That's a long drive.
Yeah, thank you.